Fast foods are not just the foods we purchase in a fast food restaurant, but they're also foods, processed foods, fake foods, I call them Franken foods, potato chips, candy, cookies, rice cakes, breakfast bars, whatever, all these processed foods people are eating, they're predominantly calories with no significant load of micronutrients. And by micronutrients, I don't just mean vitamins and minerals. I also mean those phytochemicals and antioxidants that our brain and our body needs for normal cellular function, normal immune system. Food is supposed to contain a rich source of nutrients, and our brain cells need a constant and continual supply of phytochemicals to keep healthy. We don't supply these antioxidants and phytochemicals, we age rapidly. We lose brain function. And over the years, we become demented. And it also makes us at higher prone for depression and mental illness if we're taking these processed foods. So these processed foods aren't just void of nutrients, they also contain toxins and chemicals, food additives, flavorings, food colorings. And our body, when we take in food with no nutrient supply, we produce metabolic wastes from our own body. So we have a combination of waste products, lack of nutrients, and also because the calories rush into the bloodstream all at once, so many calories, it signals dopamine receptors in the brain. And over time, we become dopamine insensitive. The point I'm making right now is that these concentrated calories, we call them highly palatable, fast foods and processed foods, are addicting. They affect brain receptors in the same way that opiates do, and cocaine does. And so people become addicted to it, which means they get a high when they consume it, they get some pleasure when they consume it, they try to stop consuming it and stop eating it, they feel discomfort. They feel shaky and weak and fatigued and headachy. They constantly have to overeat calories, and right now we have a human population in America where like 90% of our population is overweight or obese. I know conventional authorities say it's 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese, but that's because they use a BMI of 25 as a demarcation line. And in reality, all long-lived people in healthy societies all have BMIs below 23, not below 25. If we use 23 as a demarcation line, then it's about 90% of Americans are overweight. It's only about 2 to 2.5% of Americans that actually are normal weight because they live and eat healthy. The other people are maybe a normal weight because they're sickly, or alcoholics, or smoke cigarettes, or have autoimmune conditions, or depressed, or have or cold cancers, or in other words, smoking alone makes you thinner. It doesn't mean you're good to be. So we take the smokers away, and we have even less. So the point is very few Americans are really living healthfully, and because of that, we have a healthcare crisis of unprecedented proportion, more overweight, more sickly people than ever before in any society in human history, and it's tremendously tragic and needless. Being overweight or obese is not just a cosmetic issue. It's a very serious condition, because when you're overweight, it makes your body insulin resistant, which means now when your pancreas produces insulin in response to what you ate, oatmeal, a mango, whatever it is you eat, it's going to produce 3 to 10 times as much insulin. It needs to overwork itself just to function normally. So, and insulin itself promotes cancer. It's a hormone, it's a fat storage hormone, and it's pro-angiogenesis. In other words, angiogenesis means to promote the growth of new blood vessels. For fat to grow on the body, they secrete angiogenesis promoting hormones, and insulin promotes that further to allow new blood vessels to grow to fuel the fat with oxygen, with glucose, with sugar, with nourishment, making the fat grow. In doing so, it allows, and it promotes cellular replication, allows other cells to grow. When we're no longer growing, we're just growing outward, and insulin promotes that growth. It promotes the growth of cancer. It promotes the growth of atherosclerosis. It ages your body. And when you're overweight, you have high circulating insulins all the time, shortening your lifespan. Also, fat cells produce more estrogen, and higher levels of estrogen are linked to breast cancer and prostate cancer. So even being moderately overweight is a health risk. There's no such thing as a healthy overweight person. If you're overweight, you are not at your optimal health. You have to be at your optimal weight to have optimal health. So we're talking here that the American diet is so addicting that it keeps people overweight. They constantly want more food than they require. But when you eat healthy food, when you flood your body with high nutrient foods, that's the secret, the secret sauce, so to speak, because that's how it curtails your appetite. I published a study in 2012 with over 750 people, And we showed that as we ratcheted up the nutritional quality of the diet and people took in more natural foods that were nutrient rich, their appetite went down. The desire for calories went down. The secret here is when your body is healthier, cleaner, fueled with phytochemicals and antioxidants, you're not going to detoxify and feel so weak and fatigued and having to use food as a stimulant as much. So people fail on diets because they try to cut back on calories willy-nilly without improving the nutritional quality of what they're eating. You have to do both. And we have to motivate and educate our population to recognize how critical this message is, because people are becoming depressed because of the food they're eating. They're getting mentally ill. We have 1 in 5 Americans now mentally ill. And people who are diabetic or are overweight are at higher risk of developing depression and higher risk of developing anger and violence and even criminal behavior because it's affecting their brains so negatively.